In this video, we're going to build off of what we started in our last video as far as taking our Terraform code and producing it in a CI/CD pipeline and release to be able to send and create resources in Azure. So in our last video, we went through setting up the pipeline, the releases. We also, created a self-hosted agent to be able to run our Terraform code. In that case, if you want to, install some, other types of software, things like that. But now in this video, we're going to kind of go through and improve on our release a little bit as far as adding a new stage, as far as making some changes in our Visual Studio Code. We want our pipeline and our release to run automatically. So this is where, where we're starting out at. You want to go into your pipeline if you don't already have it, and just make sure that your trigger is set to the branch that you want to, trigger off of. I have it set to master. Typically, you might have it set to something else. Maybe it could be a specific branch instead of master if you're testing some stuff. But just testing wise, it's okay to just, stick with master as long as you're not like in a production, environment of some sort. But now that that's okay there, we want to go down into our releases, and we want to make sure that on our release pipeline that this continuous deployment trigger is enabled. Basically what this is going to do is it's going to create a release every time a new build is available. So once this pipeline runs, the build's available, it's going to automatically kick off this release and run a new job. So if we're looking back at our Terraform code here, you can pull this down. If you don't already have it pulled down or pulled up, you can create your repo by hitting this clone button. You can generate some Git credentials, copy this, and you can go to a folder of your choice in Visual Studio Code in the terminal and just do a Git clone and paste in that the URL that it gives you there. So now with that set up, we will go ahead and make a few changes here. Let's go back into our folder. And so what I'm going to do is, in our previous deployment, we had our release give us information on 5 resources that's going to be built. But we're going to take off that Azure firewall because we don't want that to be built. That does take quite a bit of time to run. So let's go ahead and remove that out of our configuration. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle the line comment on that, save it. So we're going to see the modified here. We're going to go ahead and stage this change. And you can do a git commit, give it a little message, remove Azure firewall. Oops, Terraform. All right, and then we want to push that to our repo. So since this is directly in the master, we should see that this just changed now. And then our pipeline should kick off, which we see it running here now. So once this fires off here in a second, it's going to start the actual process of copying the files and moving them into the working directory that the release pipeline will come off of here. So let's give this a little refresh, see if it started. It says that there's something already running, but we shouldn't have any jobs currently going. No parallel jobs. So we are on the free tier, so it could just be that could be some slowness here. But let's go back to the pipeline and see what's going on here. If I could pull up that server here as well, just to make sure. Oh, you know what? That's actually on my fault there. Since this is on a hosted server, I actually had it shut down. So let's bring that up here and give it some time to run. All right, so now that server came up, the job's actually started. And so now that that's finished there, we should see the release pipeline kick off here. And it looks like it has. Just give it a little refresh. Yep. So that release pipeline kicked off. And then now everything kind of comes in. We got the artifact that's dropped in. Using latest. It's going to do an initialization. And then the plan again. So once this plans out, then what we can do is step into our actual release and make another plan or another stage that will actually allow us to deploy it. Now you can deploy it. So as you can see, now we have 4 to add. Now we could deploy it from this particular agent job here, but sometimes what happens is you might actually want this to have some post-deployment approvals. So in order for this to run for the next stage, like let's actually add a stage. But actually let's clone the one we already got to make it a little easier. So we'll clone this one and we'll just call this Terraform apply. Keep the same info. We'll add another job after. We'll call this Terraform CLI, and we'll just use the apply stage. And we still want to go out of that same working directory, configuration directory. And then for the providers, we just want to make sure we select Azure or whatever service connection you created from the first video. So we'll save that. And now what I was mentioning is, we go back to that release. You could set it up to where, where is it at here? Pre-deployment approvals. I don't have any users, but you could, guess I could look for myself. I could have it to where I have to prove this to, run, things like that. But we're going to turn that off. But if you have like a team or you want to test some things out, or you don't want it to actually run until you actually approve of this, you can set those kind of things up now. But basically what's going to happen is once this actually goes through and it's fine, there's no issues, it's going to immediately jump over to here. And basically I have after stage turned on. And so now we go back into Terraform code. We're going to actually run it from here with the server running this time, so that it can actually go straight through without me having to bring anything up. So let's make another comment out of this section. So the static IP we're getting rid of. Stage that change and remove static IP. So our pipeline should fire off again. It's already started. I'm going to copy the files over, publish the artifact, and then check out. And if we go to release, do a refresh, we should see new release start here in a second. So now you see we have two stages. One's the Terraform plan, one's the apply. And this is going to run through some steps now. Depending on how you set yours up, you might want to do some additional things like validating that the actual code works. You can maybe even want to add some different other mechanisms of like saving configurations to a text file or some stuff. There's a lot of different tasks and steps you can add into there. So we should see this is showing queued. Oh, so it started. So basically, you would actually want it to pause. So you can have it pause and then approve it. So that just gives you the chance to actually review the plan. Obviously, I just kind of just skip past that part and, just letting it kind of run through. So once it already know it's going to deploy and the resources have, but in a production network, you'd probably have this set up to where it only will deploy the apply if the resources in the plan aren't destroying anything or something like that. So as we can see, it's going to create these. And if we actually click inside of here, we should start to see these start to create. So you'll get a little output down here at the bottom. So we got the virtual network created. It's going to create some subnets and then everything's done. So that's it there. And then, same thing with the, you can do some stuff for like, if you want to manage or destroy anything. So I'm going to go ahead and take all that other stuff out, comment it out to remove it from being deployed. So let's get rid of all that. Save that. And then that way I can remove resources. So that's it. That's just an easier way to kind of help push your code to Azure or AWS or whoever you're using for your provider. There's some other things you can kind of get into as far as with variables, which we'll kind of get into here in another video that I'll do. But basically, you can kind of set up templates and things like that to help make your deployments a lot easier. So let's say you're creating releases for various different things. You can set up variables so that you can actually not have to go in and change like, certain parts of your code. So like if you want to variabilize like, let's say your storage account or your provider, you can set those up in here to be used during your the runs of your pipelines. So as you can see, it's going to go ahead and destroy those resources there. So if you have any questions in regards to how this is set up or your pipeline or any problems you're running into, drop me a comment down below and I'll be sure to get back with you. Again, thanks for tuning in and hope to see you next time.